Hey everyone, Pastor George here with Mailbag Friday for the Theolog, and we get two more questions from Bill Heller. And this week, both of them have, I think, come out of maybe recent things that have happened in the national discourse, but both of them are kind of dealing with the same topic of patriotism and Christianity, right? And so Bill asks the question first: what should be the balance between Christianity and patriotism? So this is a good question, and honestly, I think I think I might be in a particularly not, maybe not a good position, but a interesting position to give my take on these things. So many of my congregation knows this, but maybe not all of you, is that I'm also a reserve chaplain in the United States Navy. So I, am doing stuff with that from time to time. And so I have thought a lot about both the question that you asked this week, Bill, and the one that I'll answer next week. And so what is the balance between Christianity and patriotism? Well, I think that there's a good one, and I can actually give an example of kind of from a military perspective where I began to kind of chafe in this area. So, if when you become a chaplain in the United States Navy, and I'm sure it's very similar in the Army and in the Air Force and the soon-to-be Space Force, which I would have joined if it was a thing back then, but alas, it wasn't. But anyway, they send you to a officer training school. Now, the thing that happens at officer training school is you kind of go through a boot camp type thing. Depending on what your position is, it's not as hard or as difficult. So, like, I was not in the as hard one, luckily for me. But you go through like a boot camp type thing up in Providence, and then you attend training sessions for your particular thing. And so, as a chaplain, I've had to go and will continue to go probably next year to Rhode Island and continue to receive training there. And one of the classes they teach is about like chain of command and where your kind of ultimate authority or ultimate distinction lies. Because obviously in the military, it's all about following orders, and I actually think that that's a pretty good thing, right? It's how they're able to work so efficiently in the military is you kind of just follow the orders from the top and continue doing what you're doing. And they asked like when it is, they asked us basically when is it okay to disobey orders. And they basically said never. It's never okay to disobey orders. You should always just kind of follow through with them. And I remember someone else in the class, well, what if are the orders violate, our moral conscience or whatever? And they basically said it doesn't matter. You still have to follow the orders because once you don't follow orders in the military, that's a quick way to get yourself like court-martialed, right? And obviously, I think that if you do that, you should ultimately follow your moral compass, regardless of how your superiors above you feel about the situation. But obviously, you should be prepared to pay the cost of being court-martialed. But that made me think, and it made me think pretty heavily about like how does this, this is a good example of patriotism taking precedence over Christianity, right? Putting the interests of the nation above your own moral or spiritual importance and what you're kind of there to do. And that's not to disparage the military, right? Like they're an organization, they're trying to just get what they need done, and so they're obviously going to tell you just to follow orders. But I think what it is and what's important is that there should be what should be the balance. Well, there shouldn't be a balance. It's not a scales, right? Christianity, it's a pyramid. And it's not a scales of balance. It's a pyramid of interest and importance. And obviously, at the top is God, right? And anything that God requires of you comes before anything below that, right? So let's say for me, it's God and then it's country right here. And so if God is demanding something at the top that the country doesn't like, it doesn't matter how much I love the United States. It matters what God thinks, right? So if God says, you should not, murder people or whatever, and someone in the military gives a command that says something, to the effect of you should kill these people, not in like a combat situation, but like in a, they're just normal people, all that type of stuff. I would privilege God's command over that person, even if it got court-martialed. So it's not a balance. What we tend to do in the United States, many people, is they have a cultural Christianity, right, where country is at the top and God is below that. And so kind of what the country says goes, and what God says, if it lines up with what kind of your feelings about what the United States should do is good, then you can just follow what what God happens to say on that subject, but disagree at other times when it's convenient. So it's not a balancing act; it's a pyramid of importance. And so God stuff is at the top. You can certainly, and I do love being an American, right? Love the United States. Think it's the greatest country in the world. All that type of stuff. But you can't end up putting it above God, and you can't just substitute the values of the United States for Christian values, because they're not always in tandem with one another. So I would say that is the way to balance Christianity and patriotism is to, if you have a scale, the Christian one is all the way down at the bottom, and the patriotism is up here. And if they happen to meet, that's when you balance them. But you should never push your hand down on the scale on this side and make patriotism more important. So that's my general answer to that question. It's a good question, and I think that many of the problems in the United States have happened with people pushing politics or pushing patriotism above the needs of the church and the needs of God. So, good question. I will see you guys next Monday for my next Theolog. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Friday. Peace out.